Emma thought she was protecting everyone when she kept her son's paternity a secret for 5 years. But when little Jaime breaks his arm and ends up in the ER, fate brings her face to face with Dr. Nathan Cross, man she once loved, and the father, who never knew his son existed. Welcome back, dear friends and story lovers. Tonight we bring you a tale where love is tested, secrets come to light, and fate takes an unexpected turn. Every moment will pull you in deeper, and every choice could change everything. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments. And if this story touches your heart, like, subscribe. Share it with someone who believes in true love, and hit the bell so you never miss the next chapter.
Asterisk.
The scream cut through the afternoon. Air like shattered glass, and Emma Rodriguez felt her world tilt sideways. She had been grading third-grade papers on the weathered bench at Riverside Elementary's playground. The familiar scratch of her red pen against homework sheets providing a steady rhythm to the chaos of children at play. The October sun cast long shadows through the oak trees, and the smell of fallen leaves mixed with the distant aroma of the school cafeteria's Friday pizza. Jaime had been her constant companion for 5 years, her shadow, her heartbeat walking outside her chest. At 5 years old, he possessed that fearless confidence that made her simultaneously proud and terrified. She watched him navigate the jungle gym like a tiny conqueror, his dark hair catching the sunlight, his laugh carrying across the playground like music. The red plastic slide had always been his favorite. "Watch me, Mommy," he had called just moments before, his brown eyes sparkling with mischief. "I'm Superman saving the world." Now he lay motionless at the bottom, his small body crumpled in a way that made Emma's nursing instinct scream danger, even as her mother's heart shattered. His left arm bent at an impossible angle, and his face was pale as winter sky. "Mommy, it hurts," he whimpered, tears streaming down his cheeks as he tried to move his arm and failed. Emma dropped her papers and ran, her sandals slipping on the wood chips, her heart hammering against her ribs. Other parents gathered around with that universal expression of parental concern mixed with relief that it wasn't their child. But this was her child. Her everything. "I know, baby. Mommy's here." She knelt beside him, her hands hovering over his injured arm. The deformity was obvious, and she knew this was more than a simple bruise. "We're going to get you help right now." Mrs. Patterson, another mother from Jaime's class, appeared beside them like an angel. "Emma, I'll drive you to the hospital." "My car is right here." The 10-minute drive to Riverside General felt like drowning in slow motion. Jaime had stopped crying but made small whimpering sounds that broke something inside Emma's chest. She held him close, feeling his warm breath against her neck, stroking his hair that was so much like her own. "The doctors are going to fix you." "Up, sweetheart," she whispered, though her own hands were shaking. "You're going to be just like new." The emergency room entrance loomed ahead, and Emma felt a familiar knot form in her stomach. She hadn't been in this hospital since Jaime was born 5.5 years ago? Too many memories lived in these walls. Memories she had spent years trying to forget. The pediatric emergency department buzzed with organized chaos. Children of various ages sat with worried parents, some crying, others surprisingly calm. The smell of antiseptic and the rhythmic beeping of medical equipment brought back memories Emma had tried to bury. The triage nurse, a kind-faced woman with graying hair, took one look at Jaime's arm and fast-tracked them through screening. Within minutes, they were in a treatment room, Emma helping Jaime onto the examination table while keeping him calm. The nurse pulled the curtain closed with a soft swoosh. "The doctor will be right in." Emma sat in the plastic chair beside the table, holding Jaime's good hand. She studied his face, seeing so much of herself in his features, but also traces of someone else, someone she had loved deeply and lost completely. Jaime's eyes were starting to droop from exhaustion and pain. They heard footsteps approaching, and Emma looked toward the curtain, expecting to see an older physician, be someone she didn't know who could just fix her son's arm and send them home. Instead, the curtain parted to reveal a man who made time stop completely. Dr. Nathan Cross stepped into the room, reading from a clipboard, his dark hair slightly mussed from a long shift. He wore the standard white coat over scrubs, a stethoscope draped around his neck. When he looked up and saw Emma, the clipboard slipped from his fingers and clattered to the floor. "Emma," he breathed, his voice barely above a whisper. The years melted away in an instant. Nathan looked older, more mature, with fine lines around his eyes that spoke of long hours and difficult decisions. His shoulders were broader, his presence more commanding, but those green eyes were exactly as she remembered them. Eyes that had once looked at her with such love and hope for the future. "Hello, Nathan," Emma managed, her voice surprisingly steady. Jaime looked between them with curiosity, sensing the tension but not understanding it. "Mommy, is this the doctor who's going to fix my arm?" Nathan's gaze shifted to Jaime, and Emma watched as recognition dawned in his features. The child's face, while clearly resembling Emma, held unmistakable traces of Nathan's own features. The same stubborn chin, the same thick eyelashes, the same way of tilting his head when thinking. "Yes, sweetheart," Emma said quickly, her heart racing. "No, this is Dr. Cross. He's going to take very good care of you." Nathan seemed to shake himself. Back to reality, picked up the clipboard, and moved closer to the examination table. His professional mask sliding into place, despite the obvious shock. "Hello there, Jaime. I'm Dr. Cross. Can you tell me what happened?" As Jaime launched into an animated explanation of his superhero adventure gone wrong, Emma watched Nathan work. She remembered how passionate he had been about becoming a doctor. When they were together in college, she had supported his dreams, even when it meant long hours apart, even when it meant he would have to move away from medical school. She had been willing to wait, to follow him anywhere, till everything fell apart. Nathan examined Jaime's arm with gentle, practiced hands, his voice taking on the calm, reassuring tone that all good pediatric doctors master. "It looks like we have a fracture here, and we're going to need some x-rays to see exactly what we're dealing with, but I think we can get you fixed up good as new." "Will I get a cast?" Jaime perked up. "My friend Tommy had a cast, and everyone got to sign it." Nathan smiled, and Emma felt her heart clench at the familiar expression. "Very likely. What's your favorite color? Blue, like Superman's cape?" "Blue it is. We'll get you the best blue cast in the whole hospital." A technician arrived to take Jaime for x-rays, and Emma started to follow, but Nathan gently touched her arm. "Could we talk for just a moment while they're getting the images?" he asked quietly. Emma hesitated, then nodded. She kissed Jaime's forehead and promised she would be right outside the x-ray room. Once they were alone in the hallway, the weight of 6 years crashed down between them. Nathan ran his hand through his hair, a gesture Emma remembered from when he was nervous or overwhelmed. "I can't believe you're here," he said finally. "Can't believe you're here either. When did you come back to Riverside?" "About 2 years ago. I finished my residency in pediatric emergency medicine, and they offered me a position here." He paused, studying her face. "You look good, Emma. Really good." She felt heat rise in her cheeks. "Thank you. You look good too. You became exactly what you wanted to be." An awkward silence stretched between them, filled with all the words they had never said to each other. "Emma," Nathan started, then stopped, seeming to struggle with something. Emma knew what he was asking, and her heart began to race. She had rehearsed this moment in her mind 1,000 times over the years, but now that it was here, she felt completely unprepared. "Nathan, Dr. Cross?" The technician's voice interrupted them. "We're ready for you to look at the x-rays." Nathan nodded, his eyes never leaving Emma's face. "We'll continue this conversation after I take care of Jaime." "Okay?" Emma nodded, not trusting her voice. But as she watched Nathan walk away, she knew this wasn't over. In fact, it was just the beginning of a conversation that would change all their lives forever. 3 days after the hospital visit, Emma's phone buzzed with a text that made her hands tremble. The message was from Nathan. "Can we meet? There are things we need to discuss. Jaime deserves the truth." Emma stared at the words, while Jaime played quietly in the living room, his blue cast already decorated with stickers and drawings from his classmates. She had been dreading this moment since they left the hospital, knowing that Nathan's sharp mind would put the pieces together. Her best friend Maria knocked on the door just as Emma was trying to figure out how to respond. Maria had been Emma's anchor through everything: the pregnancy, the birth, the sleepless nights, and all the moments when Emma wondered if she had made the right choices. "You look terrible," Maria said bluntly as she entered, carrying coffee and pastries from their favorite bakery. "Have you been sleeping at all?" Emma shook her head, sinking onto the couch. "He knows, Maria. I could see it in his eyes. At the hospital, Nathan knows Jaime is his son." Maria sat beside her, wrapping an arm around Emma's shoulders. "Maybe it's time. You've carried this secret for 6 years. Don't you think Nathan has the right to know he's a father? What about Jaime's right to know his dad? What about Jaime's right to have a stable life?" Emma countered, tears threatening. "To spill Nathan left once. He chose his career over us. What happens when he decides medicine is more important than being a father?" Against her better judgment, Emma agreed to meet Nathan at Riverside Cafe, a small place downtown where they used to study together in college. She arranged for Maria to watch Jaime, telling him only that Mommy had to run an errand. Nathan was already there when she arrived, sitting at a corner table with 2 cups of coffee. He stood when he saw her, and Emma was struck again by how much he had changed. There was a confidence about him now, a sense of purpose that came from years of saving lives and making difficult decisions. "Thank you for coming," he said as she sat down. Emma wrapped her hands around the warm mug, using it as an anchor. "Nathan, before you say anything, I want you to understand that I did what I thought was best." "For who?" His voice was gentle but firm, because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you made a decision that affected all 3 of us without giving me a choice. The hurt in his eyes was almost unbearable. Emma had imagined this conversation countless times, but she had never fully prepared for the pain she would see in Nathan's face. "You had already made your choice," she said quietly. "You chose medical school. You chose a future that didn't include me." Nathan leaned forward, his hands flat on the table. "Emma, I was 22 years old and terrified. I thought I was doing the right thing by focusing on my studies, by not asking you to wait for me while I figured out my life. Never stopped loving you?" The admission hung between them like a bridge neither was sure they should cross. "When did you find out you were pregnant?" Nathan asked. Emma's voice was barely above a whisper. 2 weeks after you left for medical school. I kept thinking I should tell you, but every time I called, you sounded so stressed, so overwhelmed. You talked about how demanding the program was, how you barely had time to sleep. How could I add a baby to that? So you decided for both of us. I decided to protect you from having to choose between your dreams and your responsibilities. And I decided to protect Jaime from having a father who might resent him for derailing his career." Nathan was quiet for a long moment, processing her words. When he spoke again, his voice was thick with emotion. "Do you know what the hardest part of medical school was? It wasn't the long hours or the difficult cases. It was going to bed every night knowing I had lost the best thing that ever happened to me. It was wondering if you were happy, if you had found someone else, if you ever thought about what we could have been." Emma felt tears sliding down her cheeks. "I thought about it every day, especially when Jaime started asking questions about his father. What did you tell him? That his daddy lived far away and couldn't be with us, but that he would have loved Jaime very much if he could have stayed." Nathan's composure finally cracked. He put his head in his hands, his shoulders shaking slightly. "I've missed everything. His first steps, his first words, birthdays, bedtime stories. I've missed 5 years of my son's life." That evening, Nathan sat in his apartment staring at a photo he had taken from his phone during Jaime's treatment. In the picture, Jaime was grinning despite his pain, showing off his blue cast like it was a trophy. Nathan could see himself in the child's smile, in the way he held his head, in the curiosity that sparked in his eyes. His colleague, Dr. Sophia Chen, found him there when she stopped by to drop off some case files. "You look like someone who just discovered he won the lottery and lost his wallet at the same time," Sophia observed, settling into the chair across from him. Nathan and Sophia had worked together for 2 years and had developed a close friendship, built on mutual respect and shared dedication to their young patients. She was one of the few people who knew about his past relationship with Emma. "Remember Emma, the woman I told you about from college?" Nathan said without looking up from. "The photo? The one who got away?" She came to the ER 3 days ago with her son. Sophia studied his face. He's my son. I know it sounds crazy, but when I looked at him, it was like looking at myself at that age. Sophia studied the photo over his shoulder. Have you talked to Emma about it? We met today. She confirmed what I already knew in my heart. Nathan set the phone down and looked at his friend. I don't know how to be a father, Sophia. I don't know how to be part of a family. The same way you learned to be a doctor, she said simply. One day at a time, with lots of mistakes, and hopefully more successes than failures. Meanwhile, Emma was having her own crisis of conscience. After putting Jaime to bed, she sat at her kitchen table grading papers. But her mind kept wandering to Nathan's words at the cafe. Had she really been protecting Jaime, or had she been protecting herself from the possibility of being hurt again? Her sister Rosa called, just as Emma was reaching for her third cup of coffee. You sound exhausted, Rosa said without preamble. What's going on? Emma found herself telling Rosa everything. The accident, seeing Nathan at the hospital, their conversation that afternoon. Rosa listened without interruption, letting Emma pour out 6 years of guilt and uncertainty. Emma, Rosa said, when she finished, I love you, but you made a terrible mistake. Not just for Nathan's sake, but for Jaime's. That little boy deserves to know his father, and Nathan deserves the chance to prove he can be the man Jaime needs. What if he breaks Jaime's heart? What if he decides being a father is too complicated and walks away again? Then you'll deal with it together, as a family should. But what if he doesn't? What if he's exactly the father Jaime needs, and you've been keeping them apart for nothing? The next morning, Nathan appeared at Emma's door with a proposal that surprised her. He wasn't demanding immediate access to Jaime or threatening legal action. Instead, he suggested they start slowly, letting him spend time with Jaime in casual settings where the boy would feel comfortable. I want to earn the right to be his father, Nathan said, as they sat on Emma's front porch while Jaime played. In the backyard? I know I can't make up for the years I've missed, but I want to be part of his future, if you'll let me. Emma watched Jaime through the window, seeing him laugh as he tried to throw a ball with his good arm. He's been asking more questions lately about his father. I think part of him knows something is missing. What kind of questions? Whether his daddy is tall like him, whether he likes dinosaurs, whether he's ever coming home. Emma's voice caught on the last words. I've been running out of ways to explain your absence without lying to him. Nathan was quiet for a moment. Watching his son play? I have an idea, but I need you to trust me. What kind of idea? Nathan's proposal was simple but brilliant. The hospital held monthly children's health fairs, where he volunteered to teach kids about taking care of their bodies. It would give him a chance to interact with Jaime in a natural, non-threatening environment. Jaime would love that, Emma said slowly. He's been talking non-stop about the nice doctor who gave him his supercast. Then let's start there, Nathan said. One step at a time. But as Emma looked into Nathan's eyes, she saw something that terrified her more than his. Anger or demands for custody. She saw hope. And hope, she knew from experience, was the most dangerous thing of all. Because what happened when hope met the reality of sleepless nights, tantrums, and the daily grind of raising a child? What happened when Nathan realized that being a father was nothing like being a doctor, that some things couldn't be fixed with medicine and expertise? What happened when he left them again? The health fair was held in the hospital's main lobby, transformed with colorful banners and interactive stations. Jaime was thrilled to be back at the hospital, his cast proudly displayed as he told anyone who would listen about his superhero accident and the nice doctor who saved him. Nathan had set up a station about bone health, complete with plastic skeletons and X-ray images that fascinated the children. When Jaime spotted him across the lobby, his face lit up like Christmas. Morning, Dr. Cross. Look, my cast is blue, just like you promised. Emma watched Nathan's face transform as Jaime ran toward him. The careful professional mask melted away, replaced by something raw and vulnerable. Nathan knelt to Jaime's level, examining the cast with exaggerated seriousness. This is definitely the finest cast I've ever created, Nathan declared. Your superhero training going? Any successful rescues? I saved my stuffed dinosaur from under the bed yesterday, Jaime announced proudly. But Mommy says no more climbing until my arm is better. Mommy is very wise, Nathan said, glancing up at Emma. She knows how to keep superheroes safe. For the next hour, Emma watched something magical happen. Nathan wasn't just interacting with Jaime. He was connecting with him in a way that seemed natural, instinctive, answered Jaime's endless questions about bones and bodies with patience and enthusiasm, never talking down to him or dismissing his curiosity. When Jaime asked if doctors were like superheroes, Nathan considered the question seriously. In some ways, yes, he said. We try to help people feel better and stay healthy. But we're just regular people who studied very hard to learn how to do it? Did you always want to be a doctor? Jaime asked. Nathan's eyes found Emma's across the room. Ever since I was about your age. I wanted to help kids feel better when they were hurt or scared. Emma felt her chest tighten with emotion. She had forgotten how good Nathan was with children, how naturally he understood their world. It had been one of the things that made her fall in love with him in college. Watching him volunteer at the pediatric ward during his pre-med rotations, as the health fair wound down, Jaime tugged on Nathan's coat. Dr. Krause, would you like to come see my dinosaur collection? I have a T-Rex that roars. Emma's breath caught. Nathan looked at her questioningly, and she found herself nodding. I'd love to see your dinosaurs, Jaime.
Ow.
The drive to Emma's house was awkward. With Jaime chattering excitedly in the back seat, while Emma and Nathan maintained careful small talk. But once they arrived, something shifted. Nathan sat on the living room floor with Jaime, genuinely interested in every plastic dinosaur and their elaborate backstories. This one is Rex, Jaime explained, holding up a fierce-looking T-Rex. He protects all the other dinosaurs from the bad guys. He looks very brave, Nathan said solemnly. What's his favorite food? Pizza? Jaime giggled. Just like me! Emma watched from the kitchen doorway, making coffee with shaking hands, and this was what she had been afraid of. Not that Nathan would be a bad father, but that he would be a good one. Why, how Jaime would bond. With him, and then what? How would she explain it when Nathan's demanding career pulled him away again? Mommy, can Dr. Cross stay for dinner? Jaime called out. I want to show him my superhero drawings. Emma's mouth went dry. Nathan looked at her hopefully, and she found herself caught between her son's excited face and her own fears. If Dr. Cross doesn't have other plans, she said carefully. I don't, Nathan said quickly. I'd love to stay. Dinner was a revelation. Nathan helped Jaime eat with his good hand, told stories about the interesting cases he'd seen at the hospital, carefully edited for young ears, and listened with genuine interest as Jaime described his kindergarten adventures. For brief moments, Emma could almost pretend they were a real family, that the past 6 years hadn't happened. But reality crashed back when Jaime's bedtime approached. Will you read me a story, Dr. Cross? Jaime asked, clutching Nathan's hand. Mommy always reads to me, but maybe you could read one too? Nathan looked to Emma for permission, his eyes vulnerable in a way that made her heart ache. Of course, she whispered. Emma watched from the hallway as Nathan read Where the Wild Things Are to Jaime, his voice gentle and patient as he explained the bigger words. Jaime curled against Nathan's side like it was the most natural thing in the world, and Emma had to grip the doorframe to keep from crying. When Jaime finally fell asleep, Nathan carefully tucked the blankets around him and kissed his forehead. The gesture was so tender, so paternal, that Emma felt something crack inside her chest. They sat on the front porch afterward, the October night crisped with the promise of winter. Nathan stared up at the stars, while Emma wrapped her sweater tighter around herself. He's incredible, Emma, Nathan said finally. You've done an amazing job raising him. He asks about his father every few weeks, Emma said quietly. I've been telling him that Daddy lives far away, but he's starting to ask why Daddy doesn't call or visit. Nathan was quiet for a long moment. What if we told him the truth? Not everything, but that I'm his father, and I want to be part of his life. Emma's heart started racing. Nathan, you don't understand how complicated this is. What happens when your schedule gets crazy? What happens when you get called in for emergencies? He doesn't understand that work comes first sometimes. Work doesn't come first, Nathan said firmly.
Not anymore.
I've spent 6 years focusing on my career because I didn't have anything else. But now I do. You say that now, but what happens when the novelty wears off? What happens when you realize that being a father isn't just the fun parts like reading stories and playing with dinosaurs? Nathan turned to face her fully. You want to know what happens? I learn. I make mistakes and I do better next time. I show up, Emma. That's what fathers do. They show up. Emma felt tears burning behind her eyes. You didn't show up before because I didn't know. Nathan's voice rose, then he caught himself and spoke more quietly. Emma, if you had told me you were pregnant, do you really think I would have walked away? Do you think I would have chosen medical school over my own child? The question hung between them like a landmine. Emma had asked herself the same thing 1,000 times over the years, but she had never been brave enough to face the answer. I don't know, she whispered, and I was too scared to find out. Nathan reached for her hand, and the touch sent electricity through her entire body, just like it had years ago. I'm here now. Let me prove to you that I can be the father Jaime deserves. Let me prove to you that I'm not going anywhere. Emma looked at their joined hands, remembering all. The dreams they had shared in college, the future they had planned before fear and miscommunication tore them apart. What if you break his heart? She asked. What if I don't? Nathan countered. What if we could be happy, Emma? What if we could be a family? Before Emma could answer, her phone buzzed with a text message.
Oh.
She glanced at it and felt the blood drain from her face. The message was from an unknown number. I know who the boy's father is. We need to talk. Meet me tomorrow at Riverside Park at noon. Come alone, or your secret becomes public knowledge. Nathan saw her expression change. Emma, what's wrong? She stared at the message, her mind racing. Someone had been watching them, had figured out the connection between Nathan and Jaime. But who? And what did they want? You're scaring me. What's wrong? She looked up at Nathan, seeing concern and confusion in his green eyes. In that moment, she realized that their careful rebuilding was about to be tested in ways she never could have imagined. Someone else knew their secret, and Emma had a sinking feeling that whoever it was didn't have good intentions. Emma arrived at Riverside Park 15 minutes early, her nerves wound tight as piano wire. The October afternoon was gray and overcast, matching her mood perfectly. She had spent the night staring at the ceiling, wondering who could possibly know about Nathan and Jaime's connection and what they wanted from her. She hadn't told Nathan about the text. Part of her wanted to protect him from whatever this was, but another part was terrified that involving him would make everything worse. If someone was threatening to expose their secret, she needed to handle it alone. A figure emerged from behind the oak tree near the playground, and Emma's breath caught in her throat. Dr. Marcus Webb, Nathan's department chief, walked toward her with a predatory smile that made her skin crawl. Emma had met Dr. Webb briefly at a hospital fundraiser 2 years ago, when she had been substitute teaching and helping with the event planning. He was Nathan's superior, a man in his 50s with silver hair and cold eyes, who had a reputation for being brilliant but ruthless. Ms. Rodriguez, Dr. Webb said as he approached. Thank you for coming. What do you want? Emma kept her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her chest, straight to the point. I like that. Dr. Webb sat on a nearby bench and gestured for her to join him. Emma remained standing. I want to discuss your son's interesting resemblance to one of my best doctors. I don't know what you're talking about. Dr. Webb laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Please, I've been watching Nathan Cross for 2 years. I know everything about his past, including his relationship with you in college. When I saw you at the hospital with your son, it took me exactly 5 minutes of research to put the pieces together. Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. What do you want? Nathan is up for the position of Chief of Pediatric Emergency Medicine. It's a prestigious position that would put him in charge of the entire department. The decision is being made next week. Dr. Webb's smile widened. I would hate for certain personal revelations to damage his reputation. The pieces clicked into place with horrifying clarity. You're threatened by him. Nathan is ambitious, talented, and beloved by his colleagues. He's also young enough to potentially take my job in a few years. Dr. Webb examined his fingernails. Casually, I simply want to ensure that doesn't happen. What exactly are you threatening to reveal? That Dr. Cross has a secret son he's been hiding from the hospital administration? That he's been involved in your son's medical care without disclosing the conflict of interest? The medical board frowns upon such ethical violations. Emma felt sick. Nathan had been so careful to maintain his professionalism during Jaime's treatment. But the mere appearance of impropriety could destroy his career. Nathan didn't know Jaime was his son when he treated him, Emma said desperately. He only figured it out afterward. Can you prove that? Dr. Webb asked. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like Dr. Cross has been secretly treating his own child while deceiving his colleagues and supervisors. The trap was elegant and vicious. Even though Nathan had done nothing wrong, the appearance of misconduct would be enough to destroy his reputation and cost him the promotion. What do you want? Emma asked, though she was afraid she already knew the answer. Nathan withdraws his name from consideration for the promotion. He can continue in his current position, but he never advances beyond it. Dr. Webb stood up, brushing imaginary dust from his coat. In exchange, I keep your family's secret. And if he doesn't withdraw, then the medical board receives an anonymous tip about Dr. Cross's ethical violation. His career is over, and your son loses his father before he even gets to know him. Stared at Dr. Webb, hatred burning in her chest. You're a monster. Nathan is talented, but talent isn't enough in this business. You need to be smart, and getting emotionally involved with patients is never smart. Dr. Webb handed her a business card. You have 24 hours to convince Nathan to withdraw his application. After that, the decision is out of your hands. He walked away, leaving Emma standing alone in the park with the weight of an impossible choice crushing down on her shoulders. That evening, Nathan arrived at Emma's house for dinner, as had become their routine over the past week. Jaime ran to greet him with his usual enthusiasm, and Emma's heart broke watching them together. Nathan had been right. He was becoming exactly the father Jaime needed, patient, loving, present in a way that Emma had never dared to hope for. Mommy, can Dr. Cross help me with my dinosaur puzzle? Jaime asked after dinner. Course, buddy, Nathan said, ruffling Jaime's hair. But first, can I talk to your mommy for a minute? Emma's stomach clenched. Had Nathan somehow found out about Dr. Webb's threat? They stepped onto the back porch, while Jaime worked on his puzzle in the living room. The evening was crisp and clear, stars beginning to emerge in the darkening sky. I have something I want to tell you, Nathan said, his voice excited. Been offered the position of Chief of Pediatric Emergency Medicine. The decision was supposed to be made next week, but Dr. Webb pulled me aside today and said the job is mine if I want it. Emma felt like she had been punched in the stomach. Dr. Webb was playing games, dangling the promotion in front of Nathan to make his eventual downfall more devastating. That's wonderful, she managed, her voice hollow. Nathan noticed her lack of enthusiasm. Emma, what's wrong? I thought you'd be happy. This promotion means more stability, better hours. I'd be able to spend more time with Jaime. Emma closed her eyes, fighting back tears. She thought about Dr. Webb's threat, about Nathan's career, hanging in the balance about the choice she had to make. Nathan, she said carefully, are you sure you want this promotion? More responsibility means more stress, more demands on your time. This is what I've been working toward my entire career, Nathan said, confusion creeping into his voice. Emma, this promotion would secure our future, Jaime's future. The word "our" hit Emma like a physical blow, Nathan was already thinking. Of them as a family, already making plans that included her and Jaime, which made what she had to do even more impossible. I need to tell you something, she said, the words tearing at her throat. Nathan must have heard something in her voice because his expression grew serious. What is it? Emma looked through the window at Jaime, absorbed in his puzzle blissfully. Unaware that his world was about to shatter again, she thought about Dr. Webb's cold smile, about Nathan's career in ruins, about the impossible choice she faced. She could tell Nathan the truth about Dr. Webb's threat. They could fight it together. But what if they lost? What if Nathan's career was destroyed and he blamed her for not protecting him? What if he resented Jaime for being the reason his dreams crumbled? Or she could lie. She could break his heart to save his career, push him away to protect him from Dr. Webb's machinations. It would destroy any chance they had at being a family. But Nathan would keep his job and his future. The choice felt like choosing which part of her soul to cut away. "Emma, you're scaring me," Nathan said, reaching for her hand. "Whatever it is, we can handle it together." His faith in them, and their ability to weather any storm, made Emma's decision even more agonizing. But as she looked at his face, full of hope and love, she knew what she had to do. "I've been thinking about everything that's happened," she said, pulling her hand away from his, "about us, about Jaime, about what's best for everyone." Nathan's face fell slightly, and Emma took a shaky breath, hating herself for every word she was about to speak. "I think we're moving too fast. It's this whole situation, you and Jaime bonding so quickly. It's not healthy for any of us. What are you talking about?" Nathan's voice was confused, hurt. "Emma, we're building something real here. Jaime adores you. You can see how happy he is." "Jaime gets attached easily," Emma said, forcing her voice to stay steady. "But what happens when your career gets demanding again? What happens when you realize that being a weekend father isn't enough? What happens when you meet someone who doesn't come with the baggage of a 5-year-old? "I would never abandon him," Nathan said fiercely. "I would never abandon you. How can you even think that?" "Because you did it before," Emma said, the lie burning her tongue like acid. "You chose your career over us once. Why would this time be different?" Nathan stared at her, and Emma watched something die in his eyes. "I didn't choose my career over us. I didn't even know there was an us to choose. But if you had known, what would you have chosen?" Emma pressed, hating herself but unable to stop. "Really, Nathan? If I had told you I was pregnant, would you have given up medical school? Would you have stayed?" The question hung between them like a loaded weapon. Emma watched Nathan struggle with it, saw the exact moment when doubt crept into his expression. "I don't know," he admitted quietly. "I like to think I would have, but I was so young, so focused on becoming a doctor. I don't know what I would have chosen." Emma felt her heart shatter, even though this was exactly what she had hoped he would say. "Then how can you promise you won't make the same choice again? How can you promise that when your career demands? You won't choose medicine over Jaime? Because I'm not 22 anymore?" Nathan said desperately. "Because I know what I lost the first time? Emma, please don't do this. Don't push me away because of what might happen." But Emma had already made her choice. Dr. Webb's threat hung over them like a sword, and she couldn't risk Nathan's entire career on the hope that they could fight it and win. "I think you should take some time to really think about what you want," she said, each word cutting her deeper. "Being a father isn't a part-time job, Nathan. If you're not absolutely certain you can commit to Jaime completely, then it's better to end this now, before he gets more attached." Nathan's face crumpled, and Emma had to look away before her resolve broke completely. "Is that really what you want?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Emma thought about Jaime inside, working on his puzzle, and probably wondering when Dr. Cross would come help him. She thought about the bedtime stories Nathan had been reading, the way Jaime's face lit up when Nathan walked through the door. She thought about the family they could have been. "Yes," she lied. "I think it's for the best." Nathan nodded slowly, and Emma watched him rebuild his professional mask, the walls going up one by one. "I understand," he said formally. "I won't contact you again unless it's about Jaime's medical care." He started to walk toward the door, then turned back. "For what it's worth, Emma, I would have chosen you. Both of you. I would have figured out a way to have everything." His smile was heartbroken. "I guess I'll never get the chance to prove it." After Nathan left, Emma sat on her back porch and cried until she had no tears left. Through the window, she could see Jaime still working on his puzzle, occasionally looking toward the door with confusion. "Mommy?" Jaime's voice came from behind her. "Where did Dr. Cross go? He was supposed to help me with the T-Rex piece." Emma wiped her face and turned to face her son. "Dr. Cross had to go home, sweetheart. Is he coming back tomorrow?" Emma's heart broke all over again. No, baby. Dr. Cross is very busy with his job. He won't be able to visit anymore. Jaime's face fell. But I thought he liked me. He does like you, Emma said, pulling Jaime into her lap. He likes you very much. Sometimes grown-ups have to make difficult choices, like how you chose for us to live here instead of with Daddy. The innocent question was like a dagger to Emma's chest. Yes, sweetheart, like that. Jaime was quiet for a moment, processing this information. Mommy, are you sad? Emma kissed the top of his head, breathing in his little boy scent. A little. Bit. Yes. Me too, Jaime whispered. I really liked having Dr. Cross around. It felt like having a daddy. Emma closed her eyes, holding her son tight and wondering if she had just made the biggest mistake of her life. But Dr. Webb's threat echoed in her mind, and she knew that protecting Nathan's career was worth any personal cost, even if that cost was their chance at happiness. The next morning, Emma's phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Webb. I heard Dr. Cross withdrew his application for the promotion last night. Wise choice. Your secret is safe. Emma stared at the message, realizing that Nathan must have called Dr. Webb immediately after leaving her house. He had given up his dream job without even knowing why. Trusting that Emma's concerns were valid, the sacrifice made her betrayal. Even more devastating, she had destroyed their future to save Nathan's career, and he had destroyed his career anyway. Because he thought it was what she wanted, they had both lost everything, and the only winner was Dr. Webb. 3 weeks passed in a haze of regret and sleepless nights. Emma threw herself into her teaching, staying late to grade papers and plan lessons. Anything to avoid going home to face Jaime's constant questions about Dr. Cross. Nathan had kept his word about not contacting them. The silence was deafening. Jaime's cast was scheduled to come off soon. Emma knew she would have to take him to see another doctor. The thought of explaining Nathan's absence to yet another medical professional made her stomach turn. Everything changed on a rainy Thursday evening when Dr. Sophia Chen appeared at Emma's door. Ms. Rodriguez. I'm Dr. Chen, Nathan's colleague. We need to talk. Emma's first instinct was to slam the door, but something in Sophia's expression stopped her. The woman looked furious and determined in equal measure. If this is about Nathan, I've already made my position clear, Emma said. Position is based on lies, Sophia said bluntly. And I'm done watching my friend destroy himself over a threat that should have been reported to the authorities weeks ago. Emma's blood turned to ice. I don't know what you're talking about. Dr. Marcus Webb, the blackmail, the promotion Nathan withdrew from because he thought you wanted him to choose between his career and his family. Sophia pushed past Emma into the house. Did you really think Nathan wouldn't eventually figure out that Dr. Webb was behind your sudden change of heart? Emma sank onto her couch, her legs giving out. How did he know?
What?
Because Nathan is brilliant, and because Dr. Webb is an arrogant sociopath who couldn't resist gloating. Sophia sat across from her, her expression softening slightly. Nathan confronted Dr. Webb yesterday. Got him to confess everything. Oh God, Emma whispered. Nathan's career is fine, Sophia interrupted. In fact, it's better than fine. Dr. Webb made the mistake of recording his confession, thinking he could use it as leverage later. Nathan turned the recording over to the medical board and the hospital administration. Emma stared at her. It happened to Dr. Webb? He's been fired and is facing criminal charges for extortion? The hospital board is horrified that this happened under their watch. They've offered Nathan the chief position with a formal apology and a significant raise. Flooded through Emma, followed immediately by a crushing wave of guilt. I ruined everything for nothing. You ruined everything because you were trying to protect the people you love, Sophia said more gently. That doesn't make it right, but it makes it understandable. Where is Nathan now? Sitting in his apartment, drinking too much coffee and wondering if you ever actually cared about him at all. Sophia leaned forward. Emma, that man is desperately in love with you. He's also convinced that you used Dr. Webb's threat as an excuse to push him away because you don't really want him in your life. That's not true, Emma protested. Then prove it. 30 minutes later, Emma stood outside Nathan's apartment door with Jaime beside her. Her son was practically vibrating with excitement at the prospect of seeing Dr. Cross again. Is Dr. Cross really going to help me get my cast off tomorrow? Jaime asked for the 10th time. We'll see, sweetheart, Emma said, raising her hand too. Knocked the door open before she could complete the motion, revealing Nathan in rumpled clothes with dark circles under his eyes. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Emma, he breathed. Then his gaze dropped to Jaime. Hey, buddy, Dr. Cross. Jaime launched himself at Nathan, who caught him automatically, holding him tight. I missed you. Mommy said you were too busy, but I knew you'd come back. Over Jaime's head, Nathan's eyes met Emma's. The pain and hope warring in his expression nearly brought her to her knees. Can we come in? Emma asked quietly. Nathan nodded, stepping aside. His apartment was sparse but comfortable with medical journals scattered across the coffee table and a framed photo of Jaime from the health fair sitting on his desk. Jaime, why don't you show Dr. Cross how well your arm is healing? Emma suggested. While Jaime enthusiastically demonstrated his improved range of motion, Emma gathered her courage for the hardest conversation of her life. Nathan, I need to tell you something about why I said those things, about why I pushed you away. Nathan's attention shifted to her, his expression guarded. Sophia told me about Dr. Webb. Then you know I lied. About everything. Emma's voice cracked. I never wanted you to leave. I never doubted that you could be a good father. I was just terrified of what Dr. Webb would do to your career. Nathan was quiet for a long moment, watching Jaime play with a stethoscope. He had found on the coffee table. Why didn't you trust me enough to tell me the truth? He asked finally. Why did you think you had to handle it alone? Emma closed her eyes. Because I've been handling everything alone for 6 years. Because I was afraid that if I told you about the threat, you'd blame me for creating the problem in the first place. Because I thought protecting your career was more important than protecting us. Emma, look at me. She opened her eyes to find Nathan watching her with an expression she couldn't read. When I confronted Dr. Webb, do you know what he said? He said that ambitious people always choose their careers over their families eventually. Now that I would. Get tired of playing house and choose medicine over you and Jaime. Emma's heart clenched. Nathan, he was wrong, Nathan continued. When I thought I had to choose between the promotion and you, I chose you. I chose Jaime. I chose us. Even though I thought you were pushing me away. You gave up the promotion? I called Dr. Webb that night and withdrew my application. I told him I wasn't interested in advancing my career at the expense of my family. Nathan's smile was sad. Of course, that was before I knew there was no choice to make, that the whole thing was a setup. Emma felt tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, Nathan. I'm sorry for lying, for pushing you away, for not trusting you. I'm sorry for keeping Jaime from you all these years. Nathan was quiet for a moment. Then he called to Jaime. Hey, buddy, can you come here for a minute? Jaime bounced over, still. Clutching the stethoscope, Nathan knelt down to his level, his expression serious but gentle. Jaime, I need to tell you something important. You know how you've been asking about your daddy? Yeah, Mommy says he lives far away. Nathan glanced at Emma, who nodded through her tears. Well, your mommy was trying to protect you, but the truth is that your daddy has been here all along. I'm your daddy, Jaime. Jaime blinked, processing this information with the remarkable adaptability of childhood. You're my daddy? He asked. Yes. That mean you'll live with us now? Nathan's eyes found Emma's.
Ow!
That depends on your mommy. Would you like me to live with you? Yes, Jaime shouted, then immediately looked worried. But what if you have to go away for work like other daddies? Nathan pulled Jaime into his lap. Jaime, I want you to listen very carefully. I will never, ever leave you. Not for work, not for anything. You are the most important thing in the world to me, and I will always choose you. Always. Emma watched her son's face transform with wonder and joy, and felt her heart piece itself back together. What about Mommy? Jaime asked. Do you choose her too? Nathan's gaze met Emma's across the room. I choose both of you. Me. Emma crossed the room and knelt beside them, wrapping her arms around both Nathan and Jaime. We choose you too, she whispered against Nathan's neck. We choose us. Nathan kissed the top of her head, then Jimmy's. We're going to be okay, he said, and Emma knew he was right. They had all made mistakes, all let fear guide their choices instead of love. But they had also found their way back to each other, and this time, Emma was determined not to let anything tear them apart. 6 months later, Emma stood in Nathan's office at the hospital, watching him examine a young patient with the same gentle care he had shown Jaime that first day. The child's mother waited anxiously nearby, and Emma remembered that feeling with perfect clarity. "Dr. Cross is the best," she told the worried mother. "Your son is in good hands." When the appointment was finished, Nathan joined Emma in the hallway. "Ready for lunch?" he asked, slipping his arm around her waist. "Jaime's waiting in the cafeteria," Emma said. "He wants to show you the story he wrote about dinosaurs." As they walked toward the cafeteria, Emma reflected on how much their lives had changed. Nathan had accepted the chief position and was thriving. In the role, using his new authority to implement family-friendly policies for the medical staff, Emma had returned to full-time teaching and was pursuing her master's degree in education. But the biggest change was in Jaime. The little boy who had once asked endless questions about his absent father now had all the answers he needed. Nathan attended every school event, read bedtime stories every night he wasn't on call, and had transformed their small house into a home filled with laughter and love. They had moved in together 3 months ago, and Emma couldn't imagine living any other way. Nathan had proposed last week, kneeling in their backyard while Jaime cheered and demanded to be the ring bearer. "I love you," Nathan said as they entered the cafeteria and saw Jaime waving enthusiastically from a corner table. "I love you too," Emma replied, then smiled at the sight of their son. "Both of you, forever." As they joined Jaime at the table and listened to his animated story about a T-Rex who became a doctor to help other dinosaurs, Emma realized that sometimes the most beautiful love stories were the ones that fell apart before they could find their way back together. Sometimes you had to lose everything to understand what truly mattered. Sometimes the second chance was better than the first. The end.